sad morning. Very sad morning. When this committee, the oldest and most continuous in the Congress, neglects its responsibility and essentially holds this hearing today to block any further discussion. The men and women on this committee are good people. They're honest and caring people. And that's why I do not understand why you would relegate this committee to no longer being of significance and resort to saying you will do whatever Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell you to do. Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? For an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather, and yet when they look at the empty seats here, where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why.
Hard times in everywhere you go. Times are harder than ever been before. You know that people, they are drifting from door to door, but they can't find no heaven. I don't care where they go. People, if I ever can get up off of this old heart-killing flow, Lord, I'll never get out this low no more.
Welcome everybody to RadPod and Not So Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda. This is High Fidelity and Jim right there beside me. What you just saw was the imagination of hi-fi. Now you know what goes on in that brain of his. And Jim, you look queasy. What's up, man?
No, that was awesome. Did you make that AI video?
No, I just borrowed it from someone.
Okay, good. I mean, that's a pretty good AI video, I have to say.
There's some pretty good AI stuff out there that's anti-Trump, anti-Musk propaganda that's quite enjoyable.
And you know, yeah, and we'll talk about it, but we're gonna have to we are absolutely on our own.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah. We're gonna talk about it.
I'm trying
not to Chuck Schumer folded like a wet napkin.
Don't trigger me. Don't.
No spoiler alerts here. why Jim is now an independent for the first time in his life, and I applaud your decision. I know it was hard, I'm sure. I want to go based on Hi-Fi's opener. I want to go to a report that Alex Alvarova sent me earlier today about a well-funded Moscow-based global news network has infected Western artificial intelligence tools worldwide with Russian propaganda. And it goes on to talk about how 10 leading generative AI tools advance Moscow's disinformation goals by repeating false claims from the pro-Kremlin Pravda network 33% of the time. Thankfully, this comes from NewsGuard, thankfully there are still news organizations reporting what we have known here at RadPod for many, many years, that we have been under attack through all of our social through all of our technology applications. And it also made me want to open with another thing, if I can find it. When Carol Cadwalader addressed Silicon Valley's tech bros in a TED Talk back in 2019, she said one really important question. Is this what you want? Is this how you want history to remember you, as the handmaidens to authoritarianism? Is this what we want, to sit back and play with our phones as this darkness falls? I bring that up because we're going to be talking with we're going to be showing highlights from our interview with our guest today, but I'm kind of revisiting that question. Is this what we want? Is this what they want? Clearly, it is what they wanted, to be handmaidens to authoritarianism. We're seeing that. And is this what we want, to sit back and play with our phones as this darkness falls? Not what I wanted. What do you guys say?
I think people need to take themselves to DC for the spring and the summer. The weather's turning nice. I think it's time to get on the streets. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other, I am in a dark place, I have to admit. So just for people who don't know, if you don't happen to, follow the news insanely closely, Chuck Schumer gave away the only leverage that the Democrats had, which was to force a shutdown in order to get literally anything.
Yeah.
Instead, what happened was one of the most catastrophic fuck ups, if you want to call it that I've ever seen, which is yesterday, Schumer put out a big statement. Never going to go along with it. Why would we go along with it? Right? He was very clear about it. Last night, and this gets to me, Donald Trump said that Chuck Schumer wasn't Jewish.
Yeah.
Said he wasn't a real Jew. Yeah. Said he was a Palestinian. In front of the president of Ireland, on a state visit in the fucking Oval Office, somebody asked him, Donald Trump, about the continuing resolution, and Donald Trump went off on an anti-Semitic screed like you would hear at a John Birch Society meeting or fucking whatever, like straight up as like the oldest canard possible in the nastiest possible fucking way. And suddenly the next day, with no explanation. Ooh, I decided there's two bad choices, one or the other, and so I'm gonna. And so look, it's a bad enough thing to make the wrong decision, and I disagree. It was absolutely the wrong thing to give up your leverage. But not only did he give up his leverage, he shot his fucking caucus in the head. He went off on his own. The leader of the Democratic Senate went off on his own with Fetterman. What the fuck? There is no political party that I'm going to be part of that has Chuck fucking Schumer as the last stand between me and the freedom for my kids. Fuck Chuck Schumer. And anyway, I made a hard decision and also a hard decision. I'm not going back.
Yeah.
Said it publicly. If we cannot use the one piece of leverage that we have, and decide to piss it away because Chuck Schumer, I don't know, got a phone call from somebody, read an article, I don't know what the fuck happened, but he caved for all of us. So the horrific cuts that are in this budget, the awful shit, it's all written down, and he's going along with it. And now it's got to be up to the rest of the Democrats in the Senate to go against the leader. That's not a party I want to have anything to do with. Ken fucking Martin, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm not following him anywhere. I'm not, I had hope for Hakeem Jeffries, but I'm sorry, all he does is talk nice, but he doesn't fucking do anything. These are feckless, weak cowards. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done with the abusive cycle of Republicans stealing an election, stealing trillions of dollars from us, then Democrats come and clean it the fuck up, and then we do it again. I'm done. I am out. So anyway, I promised that there wouldn't be an apocalyptic meltdown. I hope that wasn't exactly that, but boy howdy, am I fucking pissed, man. Like, it's all we had. We had one chip on the table, and you tipped the fucking bartender with it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? All right, sorry.
Hi, everyone. For those just tuning in, that was Jim extolling the lack of leadership of the Democratic Party. Yeah. Anyway, how you doing, Heidi?
So
yeah, it would have been like Orwell, like when Orwell was doing the Mars landing. Everybody's coming in like, whoa, what the fuck happened to Jim? Right? I'm okay. I'm just very, very mad. And also very focused. Focused. Yeah. There are good things about this that we will get to, but
yeah. What I hear talking is the knocking from below that Marcy Shore described, the Polish aphorism, the knocking from below. When you think it can't get any lower, when you think you've hit bottom, there's knocking from below. There is no bottom. We're not experiencing any bottom. We are people who have been loudly and at grave peril fighting the information war on the battlefield where it needs to be fought, begging for years for the Democrats to acknowledge it. Joe Biden had 4, and the people who work with him, 4 years to acknowledge that this was no longer politics and it stopped being politics. And we were a country at war. And to not acknowledge that we were a country that was a target nation of information warfare, and B, to actually address the nation in any meaningful way and take action in any meaningful way. So you're looking at, people who've been abandoned on the battlefield. So if Jim is expressing, his anger there, it's understandable. And, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I have, been somebody who, all throughout my life have respected people from both parties at various periods of time. But a decade ago, it became very clear that we were country under attack, and that one party was aligning itself with a Russian, Kremlin world view, misogynistic and homophobic, and also fossil fuel, kind of fascist outlook. And, our technology had been seized through Russian interference decades ago. They infiltrated our academia. I mean, it's something that is so obvious to those of us who've been doing the work. And the party that I've been a member of my entire life just completely ignored it at all of our peril. And if you just look at this quote unquote administration, it is so desperately frightening because it's only people who want to destroy our country. So I don't know how you spin this in any good way, but Jim, I'm sure you have some ideas. Last week you left us with the concept that there's 3,000 billionaires, billions of, people around the world who do not want to see America go down. And I can tell you, traveling through Europe, there is so much love for America. They do not want to see us go down. They miss their old friends. People are, realizing how much what happens in America affects Europe. Jim said the party that needed to protect us just wasn't there.
I mean, yeah, it's just an abusive cycle, and we have established a pattern that I have absolutely no intention of. Don't do that again, Hi-Fi. You know better than that. Not when I'm talking. Hi-Fi just did me in the middle of while I was talking, and he knows better than that. That on purpose.
It was important. I had to put it in the private chat anyway.
What did
Hi,
he
chat.
just do?
Speaking of.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
I missed it all.
Yeah, look, I've been literally every fucking day since August 2nd, 2020 doing this shit.
Yeah.
Trying with all my might to get the establishment, right? Law enforcement, federal investigatory powers of the federal government, any of the intelligence communities, the military, the whole executive branch for 4 fucking years. For 4 years.
Yeah.
We had the whole executive branch, all the stuff. All we had is the same stuff Trump has. I thought we had the same stuff. Yeah. And look what, it defies me, people still, at this hour will do things like defend the current justice system.
I know. It's like they just can't deal with reality.
It's like, listen, this guy literally just within 6 weeks fucking turned everything upside down and reversed it and pointed it at specific people inside of the United States, like that. That's it. As here's the thing, and that is just, I think, manifestly true. While you may not like it, and you shouldn't, there is in fact a vision on their side, right? MAGA, QAnon, the Dark Enlightenment. What is it? It's just National Socialists. It's all different ways of fucking pitching the same old fucking idea. Different ways, right? That's all it is. Trust me on this. I have studied all of these things, and they have the same fucking ideas. It's just different, fancy, entertaining stories that lead people to the same result. And that's important. Stories, narrative warfare. What the freedom-loving world, and I'm not even going to say democracy-loving world at this point. I don't give a shit what it is at this point. But we need our own stories. We need new ways of telling stories in the same way that they use stories for evil to drag people to believing Hillary's a satanic pedophile or Curtis Yarvin's the fucking genius of the world or Elon Musk is whatever the fuck Elon Musk is, right? What they successfully did was figure out how to tell stories in order to bring people to an understanding of something. Now, that understanding is not something that any of us normal people agree with. But the fact is, that is the landscape that we live on now. And for any ideology, much less political party, to survive, it has been established that those are the rules, whether we like it or not. So what they have done briefly is take this small, shitty idea of Nazism, right, and manage to tell it and make it bigger, broaden it out, right? We have this sort of overarching general concept of democracy that's, just seems kind of squishy at this point, right? We need to fucking pull that down into stories that affect human beings. And you know what else we need to do? We need to get fucking militant about it.
Yeah.
Right? We have got to open ourselves up to different versions of political activism in this environment. And the Democratic Party is just not open to it. It doesn't have any of the infrastructure. It does not have the DNA. It does not have the people to support what needs to be done. And it's not open to people like me or anybody else who has the knowledge. And so it's going to have to be done on our fucking own, and so be it. But I am not going to be preserving norms and institutions on the bridge of the Titanic. That is not going to be how I spend the last years of my fucking life.
I actually spent a little bit of time analyzing this today, and I was thinking about how the Democratic establishment thought it was just above all this, thought it was just above the weirdness of QAnon, above the information warfare. I do think, Jim, you said from the beginning that they thought norms and institutions and checks and balances, were going to prevail. And I thought about it because I also think that the internet had this outsized influence on that type of thinking. What I mean by that is that if you were anybody with an opinion in both media and in the Democratic Party, you would not be able to get employed by the Democratic Party if you were somebody who was wildly, pushing the truth a decade ago against Trump. So they didn't want anybody that somebody could pull up a tweet in 2014 and say, look what they said about, the Republican Party, or in 2015, look what they said about Trump. They wouldn't take into account what the person's background, intelligence, integrity might be. Everybody who seemed to make it into the party had no opinions about anything, had to be like little choir boys and choir girls. And what they got were people who were not equipped to address the fact that Russia was infiltrating every aspect of our lives and our elections. And they just were oblivious. And I know this because I still manage to get into politics working with people who had the kind of strength and wherewithal to look at the skills that I could bring to the table. And I would sit in meetings, and the people that I would work with who were Democratic establishment, campaigners would literally look at me when I talked about Russian infiltration like I was from Mars. And guess what? What did we just see? February 28th, we just saw America surrender to Russia publicly. We saw the actual end of the Cold War, and look who won. So all I can say is that they didn't do themselves any services by not actually having people like High Fidelity working and fighting like the Roger Stone for the Democrats, like somebody who had the kind of mindset that could actually reverse, engineer some of these attacks. They weren't gutsy in that way, and here we are. I mean, it's just it's
I would like to point out that the word that would best describe the Democrats is pusillanimous. They will do anything to avoid a fight. And of course, the shortened version of that is pussy. They're a bunch of pussies. Let's face it.
Getting down to brass tacks. I can't say that. I'm just sad. We needed them. We needed them to be there. And I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I don't
They
I mean,
failed. Hey, I need to
go ahead.
talk about something real quick because there's something that's been bothering me. I don't know if you guys noticed just a couple days ago, but Trump appointed a special envoy, a fellow named Paolo Zampoli, right? And no one really talks about Zampoli. I think the Midas boys got on it a little bit, but Paolo Zampoli,
Gal Squad has, just FYI.
have they
Good.
gone down like all the way down to he sold his father's toy company to Berlusconi, worked for him for a
wow.
decade.
Shock me if there was not
Wow.
a clip for that. Just saying.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Right.
Paolo Zampoli has been dirty politics a long time, and the Golden Passport scheme in Dominica that he was involved in, where millions of dollars went missing, and it turns out Justin's son, who is a crypto money launderer, fraudster type, um, his crypto Tron is actually a accepted currency by the government of Dominica. So it's just all of these. Oh yeah, and Justin's son just gave $75 million to Trump. So
these fucking the Central America is peppered, and this is important, with network states. So if you guys don't know what a network state is, you're gonna hear more and more about them. Basically, a network state is the fantasy of billionaires that that having a giant company with people who work for them is not enough power. They don't want to just tell people what to do at work. They want to have their own fiefdoms, literal monarchies. The whole idea is all exit, no voice. So what that means is the only choice you get is to leave or not. So if your family's there and you're getting, destroyed or whatever, tough fucking shit. You don't have a voice. That's the whole idea of it. And it's set up specifically to allow billionaires, to only billionaires, specifically Silicon Valley billionaires who have any idea what this, because it's weird shit, have any idea, but they're all over the place now. We've sent in Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador's entire economy, and they changed it back. But for some time, the fascist dictator of El Salvador changed his official currency to Bitcoin. Yeah. It's not a goddamn coincidence. Also, you know where else they want another network state? Greenland. Shock me, right? What are they doing? They're making a giant risk board where these fucking assholes can just give parts away. Be like, oh, you want Jeff Bezos Stan or whatever, take, I don't know, Ontario and have the network. It's fucking bonkers. And that is literally what their plan is for all of North America. That when dude is talking about the 51st state in front of the Secretary of NATO, he's talking about the 51st state and annexing Greenland while the Secretary of NATO was there. And you know what he said? He said, oh, I just thought of something. Maybe the Secretary of NATO could help me out with Greenland. And that motherfucker laughed. I don't know what happened to Heidi. He laughed.
What I miss?
So, like, I'm thinking to myself, surely NATO's got to have somebody in charge who knows some shit. Oh, I guess not. He's sitting in there laughing with Donald Trump about him annexing a NATO country, which does what? Article 5, it means that we go to world war with NATO. It just boggles my fucking mind that we have not yet come to understand that they want all of it, and that's why they're giving Putin Ukraine. That's why they're giving Putin Eastern Europe. All of this LARPing, by the way, about a peace deal is bullshit.
Cover.
There will never be a peace deal. What is happening right now is Zelensky, and I've said this before, and I will say it again. And I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but I will land here. Zelensky does not have many cards, but he's a goddamn good poker player. He's got these idiots running back and forth, like all of a sudden Trump's mad at Putin now, and Putin's mad at Trump, and Zelensky's like, "I'll take a peace deal," and that's because he absolutely worked them into that particular situation. That's a leader. That's the leader of the free fucking world right now. Is the guy who can tame 15,000 nuclear weapons, with a carefully applied tweet and and some meetings that concerned the opposition. So anyway, I'm stopped.
Hey, I want to ask you guys your opinion on the, Canada's response to the tariffs and the EU's response to the tariffs, where they are tariffing back.
Well, don't expect any good European wines anytime soon. Champagne, probably not going to be happening. The funny thing is, this is going to affect generally people of higher income. So it's nice to see that the upper class is going to start to feel some pain. Of course, they could always start drinking all that the Kentucky whiskey that Canada is no longer allowing. And I still got to head up to Toronto and get some sortilege. Anyway, that's all.
The trade war is just nonsense, right? Like wasn't it about fentanyl, right? Remember this is supposed to be fentanyl. Now, like, I don't even know what the fuck's it about anymore, right? Oh, is it steel? And wait, now we don't have steel. We don't have all this shit. All it is just pushing back and forth, right? On sovereignty, on the sovereignty of our neighbor, of our best neighbor, of a country that's been with us, by our side forever. We have the longest unprotected border in the entire world with. And homie, because Elon Musk has a map that has Canada, and he said it today, by the way. If you listen, he said, if you look on a map, it looks real nice together. That's all it is these fucking idiots are 11 years old, and they have gotten them into a situation where they are able to carve up the planet in the ways that they see fit, and it's just going to be up to us to fight back, and going to have nothing to do with establishment politicians.
It's literally, hold on, it's literally about erasing borders for these wannabe emperors. That's literally what this is. That's exactly what it is. High fidelity.
I'm just going to reiterate the point I made earlier that right now I think there's going to be a lot of unemployed people, and there's going to be a lot of people who lose their Social Security coming up here real soon. And all those people are going to be very, very angry and very, very broke. And if I was in the Democratic Party, I would try to figure out a way to get them to Washington, D.C. and shut that damn city down.
Well, I wrote about this today. not to be grim, but that's my job. Weimar Germany. What were the conditions that allowed for that takeover? Hyperinflation. Number one was the number one complaint of the German people. And again, if you've been following me, you know Peter Thiel has said out loud, America is like Weimar in the 1920s, which he did not mean as a cautionary thing. He meant as an opportunity. Look, it's right for the fucking picking. Here we go. And you know, and so this is the verbatim literal playbook. So here's the thing that you can say about Joe Biden is he's made it more difficult for them to take this where they want it to go, right? So if you follow history, there's they switched power, and then there was the Reichstag fire and the Enabling Act and all this stuff. And but Germany was in some ways ready for it, right? Because it had been for 15 years in pretty bad straits. That's actually not the case in America. We had the strongest economy on the planet, which would have been the easiest message to push, and we never did, by the way, ever. It's fucking astonishing. We just didn't the whole time. We had the best economy in the world, and that's part of what's making it difficult for Trump. And I before Schumer did this, I actually wrote a piece that was long on bad shit, but also had a hopeful message, which is that they're throwing everything at us, right?
Yeah.
What are they going after? They're going after
Yeah.
all of it. The press and every single component of our sort of civilization they're coming at the same time. And there's still spine in our back. I feel it. I'm not going anywhere. I know that our audience is getting bigger. We're not going anywhere. The fucking America is not going anywhere, which is why it is such a stab in the goddamn back when people like Schumer give away our power without our permission.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, oh God, I don't even know how to make a segue to our guest because we're going from grim to grim, but let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's grim to grim.
Let's do it like this. Interviewed the executive director of the Institute for Countering Digital Extremism, Matthew Kriner, and his team does so much good work, not only doing postmortems on radicalization online that leads to violent outcomes, but also to preventing them. So let's just start there. But we're going to be talking specifically about a report he did based on a Bratislava shooting that had, transnational ties. So why don't we start there? High five.
Any discussion related to militant accelerationism or terrorism for that matter. What first drew myself and my co-authors to this incident and this case study as a whole was that Juraj Krajcik, the individual that was the perpetrator of the attack, actually left quite a robust legacy of artifacts online. It was an inclusion of Twitter messages that he had posted ahead of and after the attack, 4chan messages he posted after the attack, as well as a pretty lengthy, about a 65-page document that he titled a manifesto, a call to arms is what it was titled as. And within these documents and within these legacy items, what we found was a very clear articulation of a worldview and a justification for why he did what he did, which was to attack an LGBTQ bar in Bratislava with the express goal of having that be an act towards collapsing Western society, what he called accelerationism, or what we describe as militant accelerationism, to put it into a larger framework. So that first really drew us in because here we had one of the most robust articulations of the worldview at a very highly sophisticated level that we had yet to see.
that we had yet to see to date. Here's the thing, you allow networks to grow and they just get bigger and more complex, and they constantly shift where they operate from, right? First it's Telegram, then it's Signal, then it's Gab, then it's, whatever. It just keeps moving around in
X.
Yeah,
X.
well, yeah. I mean, Matt was talking about a specific, very, extreme form of terrorism, which, leads to, mass slaughter. This the particular terrorist that he's talking about, Krychek, killed 2 people. It could have been a hell of a lot more, but yeah, what was fascinating is that they did a very detailed, frightening sort of depiction of this one person, because he had left such a long kind of history. His ideology extremely clear. In the paper, they almost describe this guy as an innovator of terrorism, who really was thought through his white supremacist ideology. I saw a comment there that Nazism is not an ideology. Well, yes and no. Yes, it is a psychological disorder that can be spread to others, but it does in fact have ideological tenets and components that unfortunately are transferable, and have been transferred in some innovative and disturbingly effective ways. Telegram, just being one of them. But he talked about a new term in the paper, the targeted violent manifesto, as opposed to, just the manifesto. So the Kaczynskis and Tarrant from Christchurch and Breivik from Norway. And there is a very consistent, disturbing pattern among these. In many cases, they just literally copy and paste from one before, and then build their own thing on top of it. And then, there's a clip. There's a very fascinating sort of religious component. They have a whole culture where they call themselves saints. So Saint Crucis, the Nazi who murdered people in South Carolina at a church, Saint Tarrant, and this guy Saint Krychek, who they called the first saint of the Terrorgram era. And if you don't know, Terrorgram is to Hi-Fi's point, a loosely affiliated set of Telegram channels that, is more or less kind of snuffed out, but has now been replaced basically by X. Like you can find most of the shit that first I used to have to go, way out into the boonies to find, this stuff. 8chan, even then there's, even worse places, but it's just gradually crept up the totem pole all the way up to, fucking X. Anyway, Heidi, bounce
Yeah,
off.
my internet's wonky, but I did want to say that I don't know if I included the clip or not, but it does seem to me that I asked him if Pavel Durov's arrest was going to make any difference, and he said you can still find all the stuff there. Let's see the next clip.
Dynamics begin to emerge very early on and then coalesce and consolidate over different periods of time. So we get 3 distinct periods of time. The first one sort of peaks with the apogee of Atomwaffen division becoming this really solid brand that everyone wanted to emulate. Everyone wanted to have their own Atomwaffen cell. And then the FBI and other law enforcement agencies had either infiltrated alongside the base, infiltrated them, and then conducted a sweeping series of arrests, mostly tied to the swatting that Atomwaffen was doing. And that really broke them. And so you saw this corresponding drop in Telegram and Terrorgram. We see another one that peaks around 2020, and it also drops off for various reasons. And then we see another one tick up again, and that's the Terrorgram Collective. That also corresponds with a lot of the civil unrest that was occurring in 2020, a lot of the sort of racialized discussions around Black Lives Matter and sort of the broader critique of law enforcement practices in the United States. That was fodder for a lot of the individuals that sat behind the scenes of Terrorgram and wanted to find new audiences to reach. Because ultimately, the core of accelerationism isn't to be specifically one ideology. There's a lot of fascists in it. Absolutely. They're very far right in a lot of their ideological views. And they're very xenophobic. They really hate non-white people. But a lot of people that are in Terrorgram around the world are also non-white, and they're also fascist, right? So they have different understandings, different perceptions and frames that they bring to the table. And what the sort of highest levels of strategists within the sort of, it's called the accelerationist ecosystem that exists and the movement as a whole, view ideologies as a pre-made space to radicalize individuals to help hasten the collapse of society, right? So if you're thinking about it, like if your goal is to collapse society, don't be indiscriminate about which ideology you choose. Find one that's most viable, and that's the neo-fascists, and push them as much as you can, but others are there too. So QAnon, Boogaloo, survivalists, preppers, etc. All of them are ripe for the
plucking.
Yeah.
Well,
So Mindy asked, what's Terrorgram? Terrorgram is a loosely affiliated set of Telegram channels that are all devoted to white supremacist terror, to violence, all specifically around white replacement theory. So one of the things that he mentioned there that I think is a really underappreciated and not well understood important thing historically was Iron March. So Iron March was basically where globally a large number of the neo-Nazi movements were incubated. So Atomwaffen, he was talking about it, but also you may have heard about the Nazis in Ukraine, the Azov battalion. There was a Nazi Azov group that formed on Iron March, along with Nazi groups in dozens of other countries. Now, here's the important part, the thing to know about Iron March. Guess who created Iron March? A Russian.
Russia.
Who went to Russian spy school, whose father was like a nationalist Russian, who was also involved in the intelligence community. And suddenly this guy graduates from Russian school and goes to start a Nazi website, and suddenly gets all kinds of people from around the world and start things like Atomwaffen and all of these different things, and Azov, which ended up, being a Nazi group in Ukraine. Like, there's Nazi groups all over the place. But guess what? They were all incubated on this fucking Russian spy's website. So you can trace back a lot of all of the neo-Nazi, neo-fascist activity, violence, and metastasis, back to, guess who? Goddamn fucking Russians.
Right. So it's funny because I just retweeted something I wrote, I think back in January 2020, where one of the leaders of a neo-Nazi ring in America lived in St. Petersburg, Russia, Ronaldo Nazaro. So it's like over and over and over again, if anybody wanted to see reality and what was really happening. The information was there, but I guess they just preferred to stay in their little chat room on the internet. I don't know.
I mean, there is a does anybody know about ROKOR, the Russian Orthodox
Orthodox
Church,
Church. Yeah.
outside of Russia?
Like their training ground in Pennsylvania.
Well, in New York.
New
They
York.
have New York, in upstate New York. They have a fucking training ground, and there is a huge overlap between these things. Now, guess who was hanging out with one of the lead promoters of the Nazi Russian Orthodox Church? May Musk. Yes, guess when she was doing that. She was doing that. There's pictures of her, and I wrote about this on Mother's Day of 2022. remember when Elon Musk was buying Twitter? All of a sudden, got real. Oh my God, I gotta buy Twitter! Holy shit! And he paid too much, and like that whole shit show. Well, Mama's hanging out with the fucking Russians like the whole time. And hat tip Chris Krebs, you guys should read this article because it's bonkers. Like, so briefly, there's a guy named Brendan Spikes who's been like Elmo's right hand nerd for 28 years, like back before PayPal to Zip2 or whatever he was doing back in the day. And this dude got married to Natalia Libina, who's a Russian, who's involved in the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia, the Russian American Family Foundation, I don't know, this all Russian Heritage Foundation, all of these fucking Russian spy fronts. All of them are fucking Russian spy fronts. That's all this shit is. Trust me. And this fucking Russian was married to Elon's buddy. No, they got divorced, but then she changed her name. She changed her name to Natalia Haldeman. Now that's weird. Why did this Russian change her name to Haldeman? Because before she was married to Elmo's guy, oh, I forgot to mention, this guy works at Doge and at X. He's a Doge guy and Brendan Spike. So he worked at Doge, one of the 50, and at X. And so before marrying that guy, she married Elmo's cousin. His cousin, who was another grandson of Joseph Haldeman, the Nazi who wanted to create a giant technate across all of North America. So if you scroll down, go back and scroll down. If you scroll down, you can see May in 2022 with Natalia's mom. Keep going. So there's Brendan on the left, and they're at the ROKOR, and then they're see them? That's the Russian Orthodox Church shit behind them, and a whole bunch of Russian spies. All those are Russian spies, every one of them. And then you go down here, and there's May Musk with a Russian spy in 2022. Now, Chris Krebs doesn't say that, but I'm saying it. And Chris comes as close as the very, very careful and amazing security investigator Chris Krebs will go. But those are all fucking Russian spies, and it's all up in Elmo's family. And that's all Nazi shit, man. I'm sorry. It's all white supremacist, hardcore, anti-Semitic stuff. and that's what's coming for America. That is what they want America to be.
So can we just remind our viewers who heads the Russian Orthodox Church, which is a KGB crony of Putin's, who's basically what I call just a old KGB spy in drag.
Yeah, he's literally an old KGB spy. He was literally a KGB spy, and you pronounce his name Kill, but with a slight Kirill.
Yeah.
He's find a picture of Kirill. He's the scariest looking dude on earth.
Yeah.
All right, but before I do that, I'm gonna play the third clip.
Yeah, please do.
It is deeply ironic that one of the major companies that developed trust and safety models to go after terrorist content online, being at the time Twitter, with their trust and safety team to tackle the 2014 rise of ISIS and all the content that was being slammed onto Twitter by ISIS. It's deeply ironic that that platform now, X, is now hosting arguably more egregious content than what ISIS was putting on in the 2014.
Not even arguably, but yeah.
Yeah.
That, I mean, like, I've seen much worse shit than the ISIS stuff. I mean, I mean, it was beheading videos and all kinds of horrible shit. But the stuff that they have now is all produced and psychologically tuned in ways that they didn't even understand back then. And ISIS was the best in the world at it, you know. Unfortunately, you know, part of what happened, by the way, back when ISIS was doing that, a bunch of people got involved in, you know, like Operation ISIS and trying to get rid of ISIS and all this shit, and ended up actually just learning the techniques, and you know, becoming what, you know, I've been calling for years, American ISIS. I mean, there's no difference between taking a bunch of young men, putting them in a tent in the fucking desert, and telling them that infidels are going to come and rape your children, and somebody doing the exact same thing online on Terrorgram. It mentally, psychologically, it's the same thing, and that's the why this is so fucking dangerous.
And here's your KGB guy real fast. Look
Kirill,
at this fucking guy.
I am Kirill. I will Kirill you with my god powers.
Yeah.
What
it doesn't. Don't you just, when you see him, you just feel the essence of the Holy Spirit, don't you?
No.
The warmth of God. Jesus just comes from.
I'm just surprised that this is the guy against drag shows, but okay.
So, you know, multiple countries, Ukraine included, have kicked Russian Orthodox Church out of their countries because they know that they are just like a spy breeding ground. So, you know, nobody who's paying attention, you know, believes, you know, anything other than that. But again, you know, they've kicked out the heads of the Russian Orthodox Church, multiple Baltic countries, and also, as I mentioned, Ukraine. So do me a favor.
Yeah, they get real mad about that. Zelensky doesn't like Christians because he kicked out the fucking Orthodox Church.
Yeah,
like, no, bro, that's the KGB, man.
Yeah,
Russia bombs churches in Ukraine.
Yeah, and
Russia bombs churches,
medical facilities. Hey, by the way, go to Timothy
schools.
Go to Timothy Snyder's latest Substack and donate to United 24. He's raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for armored ambulances because Russia also bombs medics, ambulances, those who try to pull people off the battlefield. And so please join us. I donated on RadPod's behalf so we could actually get armored vehicles to Ukraine. So go to Timothy Snyder's Thinking About Substack and please make a donation so Ukraine can put in the order for multiple new armored ambulances.
On that
So,
front, I wanted to mention our friend Zarina Zabriskie, who has been reporting on these fucking drones, which is the reason why you need armored ambulances. Guess why? Because
yeah,
because these fucking orcs have 16-year-olds in Russia going like, whoa, playing video games, hitting them on purpose. So if you have
yeah,
a siren on, you're a fucking target to them. The rules of war, the idea of war crimes, these are quaint ideas to these people. And so that's the reason why you need them. And shout out to our dear friend Serena for bringing light to this terrible nightmare. Do we have another clip?
We do.
Yeah. Oh, we lost Heidi again.
Device that they're holding is inches away, like right here from their face. So the psychological aspects of engaging with that means your ability to critically assess and detach a bit, so that natural barrier of critical assessment is gone. You're just completely consuming it at a full bore. So when they're looking at video that is hyper gory or is hyper racist or xenophobic, that goes straight in a way that nothing else has really been able to do. The news broadcasts of World War II or Vietnam, they were powerful, but they weren't the same. You're not looking at it right here in your personal world. There's people around you. There's an ecosystem that's in the real world around you. That personal device takes all that away. And so the internet has made radicalization more powerful, in my opinion, more effective in some settings, and more prevalent. I mean, if we really look at what's happening currently in accelerationist or even just in school shooter sort of radicalization pipelines that are out there, it's getting younger because devices are getting into the hands of younger individuals, right? The ability to find Columbine material at 13 is much easier than I was able to get 13-year-old Matt onto the internet and find anything for that matter. I had to tie up the phone line. They don't tie up a phone line. They've got their own phone line, right? And everything is right there and consolidated. So there's a lot of elements of the online or digital ecosystem that has made terrorism worse or more egregious or more powerful or more capable. But the bottom line is the mobile device and the applications that sit on that mobile device have punched it along faster than we could have ever possibly imagined.
Yep.
Mobile devices in the hands of children.
I mean, that was exactly the insight we had 25 years ago, that, hey, you know what would make entertainment even more entertaining is if you started using people's devices. What if a character called you on the phone? What if you could text somebody? What if the website, like push back if you poked it? Like, there are all these fun, things you can do, and he's exactly right. It's much more powerful, and you can use those things for good and to tell good stories, or you can use them for bad and tell bad stories. And I'm gonna go do a lot of thinking about some alternate ways we can start getting this message out, because the standard ways aren't working for us.
And the one good thing, as you noted earlier, is that people seem to be more thirsty for information that they were ignoring for the last decade. So there may be a way to reach more people. But here's my message to America. The KGB won the Cold War, and we just found that out. And what are you going to do about it?
I know we thought we won, right?
What are you going to do about it? You're going to let these oligarchs, just like they have in every other country, just destroy everything you've ever come to, appreciate about our country? What are you going to do? So that's
it's a really good way you put that there. We literally did, like, which is funny because we were all so excited because we won. Remember that? The wall came down. We beat them. We beat the commies. It's all over. So much for that shit. Anyway.
At least we still got our humor, which is very vital when you go into these types of regimes, according to my friends who've lived through them. Hi-Fi, any final thoughts?
I just really think that if you've got the funds to give people who have the time or if you have the time and the funds, people need to be in DC this spring and this summer, and they need to be on the streets, and they need to shut DC down, and in turn, shut this entire country down, or else things are going to get a lot worse before they even get better.